Hello, guys. My name is Lake, and I'm going to be talking about something today that is really still unknown in the scientific world, but there's a lot of speculation on it and what causes it and what it's for, and that is dreaming. Nobody really knows about dreams scientifically other than that we have them. We don't know what causes them or anything really, but there is a lot of speculation. And what I'm going to do today is just talk about, I think, 5 or 6 different theories that we have why we dream. The first one is wish fulfillment, and this was scientifically done by the psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud. After analyzing the dreams of hundreds of his patients, he came up with this crazy theory that dreams are wish fulfillments. So to say that no matter how terrifying a dream is, it can be looked at as a way of getting something that you want, either literally or symbolically. For example, say you have a terrifying sad dream about your mother dying. Why would that be wish fulfillment? Because you don't want your mother to die, obviously. Well, some people might, but that's a different story. Maybe Freud would say you're having a conflict with your mother so that it would be easily resolved if she were out of your picture. So you don't want your mother to die, but you do want to deal with the conflict. But think of dreams of it in that way. Freud is able to help a lot of his patients unbury hidden emotions that they hadn't dealt with before. The next one we'll be talking about is putting short-term memories into long-term storage. So it's acting like it's like the middle point between short-term memories going to long-term. And this belief states that many dreams are just randomly generated stories caused by neural impulses, but perhaps there's also a reason for them too. This idea is that our brains are always storing memories regardless of whether we're awake or asleep. This also supports that during lucid dreams you can never imagine a new face. Because everyone you ever will see in your dream, you have seen before. Even if you don't know the person in any way, you probably saw that person on the street walking by. But some dreams could possibly be a temporary storage area of consciousness, a spot where we hold memories before we move them to the short-term to long-term storage. They flash through our minds as dreams before we secrete them away in the files of our memories. So I think that's pretty cool. That's a really good outlook on it, I guess you could say, but I don't know how you could prove this in any sense. So here's another pretty cool theory that I think, but there's actually 2 parts to this theory, but I left out one of them, and I'm going to explain why in a second. So this theory it's consolidating what we've learned. Based on a number of studies, that it actually shows that people, what they've learned, they learn it better if they dream after learning it. This theory suggests that dreams help us retain what we've learned. There's been recent studies on trauma patients which suggest that people go to sleep right after a traumatic experience. They are more likely to remember and be haunted by that trauma. So it proved for traumatized people it's better to keep them awake, talking for several hours, even if they're exhausted, to prevent the traumatic experience from really sticking to their memory. But the other part of this is there's another theory that says that we dream to forget. But I left that out because I think this proves a lot more than dreaming to forget, because you can't really prove that in any sense, I guess. But I feel like if you're dreaming, you can't really forget about it, because if you have a really crazy dream about your mother dying or something, I'll just go back to the first one, you're going to remember that dream probably, more than likely. And that's going to be stuck in your mind, because I have dreams that I remember from when I was a little kid that there's no way I dream to forget. So that's why I left that one out. But let's go on to the next one. So this one is pretty cool because the theory is the playing dead. It's called I guess you could say, threat simulation or playing dead or simulation or whatever. But the playing dead theory of dreams actually fits nicely with the other evolutionary theory of dreams. This theory suggests that the biological function of dreaming is to simulate threatening events and to rehearse threat perception and threat avoidance. People who have these kinds of dreams will be better able to face threats in their waking hours because they've already run through these nighttime simulations. As a result, people who dream in this will survive more often to pass on their genes, and that's like the evolutionary side of it. This theory also makes sense because this can simulate things that, if done in real life, could and would be life-threatening. And it's a good way to, I guess, practice, because I've heard people from other lucid dreamers say they have a big speech the next morning, and they lucid dream about the speech, and it helps them tremendously because lucid dreaming is very awesome and it can help you with that sort of thing. And I've heard that from other lucid dreamers, that they can simulate things that they're nervous about and give them more confidence. But the only thing about this theory is, unfortunately, this theory doesn't explain my reoccurring dream of eating a nice big yufka kebab, so that's unfortunate. We are down to the last theory that I've listed, and this is one of my favorites because this is where dream interpretation comes in. And I don't know, this is one of the ones I believe mostly because this theory suggests we are aggressively mutating our ideas or weeding out maladaptive emotions. A newer model of dreaming suggests that the process is more likely therapy than evolution. And that makes a lot of sense because dreaming, I feel like it is the day-to-day thing to keep you sane almost. It's like your secondary life because we aren't aggressively selecting for the most adaptive idea or emotion. We are just running through those ideas and emotions and placing them in a broader psychological context. The brain does this by associating emotion with a symbol, I guess you could say. When one really clear emotion is present, dreams are often very simple. Thus, who experience trauma such as escape from a burning building or an attack or a rape often have a dream like I was on the beach and I was swept away by a tidal wave. It's obvious that the dreamer is not dreaming about the actual traumatic event that they had, but is instead picturing the emotion of it. So the emotion from it would be I am terrified and overwhelmed. When the emotional state is less clear or there are several emotions or concerns at once, the dream becomes a lot more complicated. And they have many statistics showing that intense dreams are more frequent and more intense after the trauma. This kind of association between emotion and symbol helps to tie down, I guess you could say, the emotions and weave them into our personal history. So it helps a lot. Possibly this kind of symbolic association with an evolutionary adaptation that helped our ancestors cope with trauma in a world where they had probably had so much more to deal with in life-threatening events on a daily basis than most of us do today. We seem to use these bizarre images and ideas to make sense of the day's events, to turn random neural firing into something really coherent and more understandable. And even to figure out why or how we should feel what's happened to us. There's no doubt that dreams play a major role in our thought processes and all these different things. But the question is, however, is it evolutionary adaptation or are dreams just an accident? That's the only question I have for you guys. If you guys just feel free to leave a comment on what you think about that. I'm really curious to think of what you guys, if you think it's for trauma or you guys think it's for evolutionary purposes or anything I listed in this. What do you think is true? Or do you think it's just an accident and it really has no meaning other than just some crazy things happening in your head at night? But thank you guys for watching and I really appreciate it. And leave a like if you like, subscribe if you subscribed. Not that it makes sense, but peace out.